There have been improvements. We got to give props for that. You know, you actually did hit a crab finally. I'm like, Jesus,
what?
Jesus Christ,
why is this guy hitting a crab?
You know, every Mr. Olympia has to be able to hit a crab. Yeah. Why are you not doing it? You do it.
Let's practice. Hold on. Let's hit a crab.
You know, you hit a crab.
If he said this at the Olympia, if he said this at the Olympia last year, I probably kept bawling my eyes out. But this is a
do your crab shot. Do your crab shot while we got Phil here.
There it is. See, and then you know what's funny is like.
I created Species Nutrition with one mission in mind: to provide bodybuilders and serious athletes with no-nonsense supplements that work. I put my name and reputation on every bottle of Species Nutrition products. If you want to be your absolute best, join the evolution.
Dave Palumbo here at the IFBB Pittsburgh Pro 2025. The finals have let out. I'm here with seven-time Mr. Olympia Phil Heath and Chris the Technician Aceto. Derek Lunsford makes it 2 for 2 in 25, going for the 3-show win, as he calls it, the Grand Slam, which will be the Olympia. After prejudging, we said Derek was probably ahead. What clinched it for him? They said it was a tie tonight. They had to do a sudden death overtime.
I never thought I'd ever see a so-called sudden death overtime in bodybuilding, but we had one here tonight in Pittsburgh, and I know the fans enjoyed it. I enjoyed it, but man, I know everyone was sweating. If I was Derek, I was sweating. If I was Nick, I was sweating. But what a great event.
Do you think it was really for the fans, or do you I personally didn't think it was that close. I mean, I thought it was close, but I thought Derek really won in prejudging, which I heard, and I thought he did enough to win here tonight. I was kind of a little confused by the sudden death, but it was great for the fans and the people watching on the live stream.
Well, Phil used the term this morning, negation, and when I went to see the prejudging, I left and said, okay, it's not a blowout, but my eyes always came back to Derek, and that's why I thought he'd win. And then at the night show, I still thought Derek had like just more detail, refinement, polish. Polish is a word that experienced people can see, and it does win shows, and that's why Phil won 7 of them, because he was the most polished, and it gave him the appearance of being, far bigger than the Rolly Winklers or the Rammies. And at some part of the finals, I did sit up and think, like, I don't know if Derek's polish is negating the side chest on Nick, particularly that pose. While Derek looks better in the side.
That's one pose, though.
Well, I know.
The side shots were, I agree. I think the side shots it could be tossed up, right? For me, I always it's easy to look at the chest and stuff like that, and Derek's chest has improved, right? Since you guys were working together, you saw it at the Arnold, we saw it here tonight. You start looking at the glutes and hamstrings, and I think what our eyes did draw to regarding Nick is that we hadn't seen him stand next to anyone that formidable that has won a major title such as the Arnold and also the Olympia such as Derek Lunsford. So when we saw that glute hamstring tie-in and he did not fade as far as like the side, maybe in the front with the quads, I talked to a couple of judges and they said from the front he started getting watery and stuff. And I said, okay, that makes sense. What about from the side? And they said, no, he was crispy from the side. I can see how he could have got those 2 shots. Now going, the format was quite different in my opinion.
Yeah.
I never saw them go straight into confirmation. It was
routines.
They usually do routines. And this is why. Because it was that close in their eyes. Yeah. I was told by a couple of guys that Derek wasn't winning after prejudging.
No, I heard he did win after.
Yeah, so it's like we always hear these things.
Let me ask you a question. Let me ask both of you a question, because were the fans and were the people watching the show and the people that we sit with in the press pit, very impressed with Nick because of how much better he was and because of the comeback. I almost felt like there was like everyone was rooting for Nick, and he delivered what we wanted to see, but you still had to compare him to Derek, which I didn't think he did enough to beat him.
Yeah, I mean, the crowd was like very
Nick friendly.
Very Nick friendly. Yeah. Which is great, and it's great for the sport. Yeah. But look, there's been years where I competed where, they cheer for Ramy. They would cheer for other guys. And, when you're polished, yeah. He got me on one.
You always had another racehorse in the race. That's right.
But, as the athlete, which Derek is, right? Derek was able to hold himself composed and make sure that he did not fade, that he still improved on some areas. And I thought he was the most consistent. But here's something that and I'll share with you guys, because we got to just talk real stuff here. I spoke to Nick and I said, look, there's times where you have to understand that you may feel that you were robbed. You may feel that way because of the outcome, that it was undesirable. Right. But you go there next week, you go to New York, you prove that you are mentally tough, that you're emotionally conscious of what you can bring, and you bring that in New York, you handle your business there, and if you want to get some real get back, you go to Vegas after you get that qualification and you run it back. You don't allow yourself to get down. You keep your chin up and you say, look, if I'm Nick Walker, I would say, look, I pushed Derek to his limit. Right. On paper, in front of the judges, in front of all the main judges that are going to be at the Olympia, I pushed him to the brink, and that's what you're supposed to do. You're supposed to apply the pressure. My hat goes off to Nick because he did do that. Now, did he win? No. But look, I lost the Arnold Classic in 2010, right? I was up.
Not really, though, yeah.
But see, but this is what we're saying.
We both say that's your best.
Right, so we say that, but my mentality was this. I was up by 3 after prejudging, lost by 7 in night show in a one-day show. 10-point swing. We could call it bullshit all we want. But what you can't say is that you're going to hang your head. You keep your chin up, and I told myself, I'm never going to lose to that man again. And you're going to go to work and you apply the pressure. That's what Nick has to do. Derek has to realize, hey, it was 1 point. There's a lot of work that I need to do because it was the Arnold and the Pittsburgh. It wasn't the Olympia. So now everybody's got to do work. And as I said before, I'll say it again, there's not one dominant person in the world. Anyone can get beat on any given day. And look, this is bodybuilding, man. I mean, this was a great event. This was an awesome show. The stage setup, everything was ran smooth. But I'm just waiting to see, and I'm hoping that Nick realizes that he's got so many fans on his side as a human being that he should just do these shows.
Play that to his advantage.
Yes, this is your time. Like, you can play the Gunther card if you want. You can do whatever you want with it. And with Derek, you guys are going to chat. You're going to celebrate. You're probably going to celebrate for one day because now you got real work to do. You're going to review it. You guys are going to do what you do.
And the fans in New York, Chris, love Nick Walker. So I'm sure Steve Weinberger loves Nick Walker's going there. I'm sure the fans are going to love to see Nick Walker. We know Nick Walker is going to have his hands full with Regan Grimes, but if he goes in there and wins, that's going to be a lot of momentum. 2 shows in a row. He won 50 grand here. He'll win 30 grand in New York. I mean, he can't be too disappointed if he wins next week.
No, and I just want to throw in, last week on the radio, you talked about who's going to be the winner here, and I said that was my brute honesty, and I know Derek hears this stuff. As I said, there's no slam dunk at the Pittsburgh. No. And all these shows.
And if Good Vito was here, who would have known what would have happened?
There's not slam dunks, and people win shows, people lose shows, and I think where Phil's moving with that is when you lose shows, they're an opportunity to get better, and a time to step back and evaluate. Where am I going with this? And just like when you win, just because Derek won these 2 big shows, I don't think he's a slam dunk for the Olympia at all. It's disrespectful for everyone else who's going to kill themselves physically to get ready for the show.
That's right. No, you're absolutely right with that, and I appreciate you saying that. Even as his coach, everybody's got pressure, and it's just how you handle it. And with Derek, he's got a great support system. He's just, like we said before, he's just got to go back, reevaluate, like you said, calm that nervous system, and then be excited over the fact that you're rolling into the Olympia with two major wins. I cannot wait for the Olympia, man. This is going to be sick, dude.
The person who is probably the most glad that Nick Walker won this show is Bob Ciccarello. Because Bob predicted Nick Walker was going to be 8th at the Olympia.
Well, it was funny because now that you mentioned
Can you imagine if Nick would have won?
it would have been the funniest mic drop ever. It would have been the awkward moment where Bob and Nick would have been on stage. It would have went viral probably. Nick would have probably grabbed the microphone out of his hand and just said something and said, "Who the F is Bob?" and slam it down and walk off.
I was going to hand him the O.
But but it's like, what could have been, but hey, may have that opportunity in Vegas. But man, what a great show, man. Like, this is what bodybuilding needed. We need guys like Nick. I always said it, we need Nick Walker competing, and he did. And again, he got second to a Arnold Classic champion, Mr. Olympia champion. There's nothing to be down about.
There.
He's right there. I told him, I said, if you don't press on the gas now, mentally, and I'm talking about mentally, you got to say, you know what? I got to find out who I am. Bodybuilding is
not easy.
No. Bodybuilding is about who you are, how you handle the stress, how you handle social media, how you handle the sponsors that want everything from you and pose and post and all this other stuff. You got a lot of stress, but if you can just stay honed in on who you are as a human being and just say, hey, I'm one rep, one set, one workout closer to my dream. And to me, his dream should, okay, let's say he won this show,
Right.
and you never win the Olympia.
Yeah, that's
Really?
not good. Yeah.
So in his mind, he's got to think, what's my main goal? To win the Olympia. Okay, qualify for the Olympia, get some get back. That's what makes the sport so special. I love the fact that Derek was honing in on his strengths, and during the pose down, that's where I feel even like if there was anything that you could have checked off for Derek, it was the pose down.
Is that what wonderful? Because I was going to say,
For me, I was like, you know what?
Nick
he
wins
did-
tonight at the comparisons. What did Derek do an hour later to win?
I don't know. I mean, I wish I could have been back here just to watch how they were receiving that information. Shout out to all the athletes, to be honest, because when you receive that type of information, like, hey, it's a tie.
Yeah, that's scary.
That is scary. That's scary as the champion coming in. You're
lost tonight.
You're thinking like, okay, why did they do that? I thought I was winning. It doesn't feel good.
Why did they do it, Chris? Do you think that was for the crowd? Or do you think it was, or do you think it was legit?
I think,
and what did you tell Derek to get his mindset in the right place?
I think when you go across the judging panel, there's some people who favor or appreciate the brutal mass, which is there of Nick, and some people side with Derek's physique, which is his physique. It's not the biggest on stage, but there's to me, look, there's more bells and whistles to it. There's more refinement to it. Whether, that's the bottom line in terms of the juxtaposing the two.
So what did you say to Derek?
I came back and I told Derek. Derek said, we have to go back out. It's a tie. And I said, well, you have to fight for it, and you're going to win or you're going to lose. So we still have time to try to get a little bit better, whether it be presentation. I ran him through his poses. Thank God I got a backstage pass. I gave him a little bit of food, and instilled in him, you know what? He knows me. There's no shame in losing, and there's no arrogance in winning.
Right.
So you have to, I wanted I wanted him to go out and fight. Like, don't fake fight. Fight. If you think you're the best guy, present yourself as a winner. And this is probably, of any time he's ever been on stage, this last pose down was the first time I think we saw some,
Fire in him, yeah.
fire.
Yeah,
like
the fire
this
in the
is-
belly, the fire of the champion. Kind of like what we were talking about even after our wrap up in the morning.
Yeah.
We were talking about, the identity of Derek Lunsford, making sure that, yes, how bad do you want this? Are you really willing to let someone step into your space? And we saw that he was not going to allow that to happen.
Nick looked a little to me, I really loved how Nick looked. I thought he brought a great look to the stage. He came in big, he came in full, he was hard. I thought he could be a little tighter in the glutes, but he looked a little almost like he was out of it a little on stage. And I noticed he was chewing gum too, which looked a little unprofessional. Did you notice that?
I saw the chewing gum, but I'm not, look, I don't even know in the rule book if that even matters. I judge from the neck.
It just looks uncomfortable.
Yeah, but maybe it made him feel comfortable because, quite frankly, his physique did not fade. I was really impressed with how he showed up. But look, at the end of the day, we had someone take the challenge, all the challengers, and he beat them.
Here he is, the guy who beat him. Come over here, Derek.
Stacking checks.
The champ is here.
Hey, we did it, man. This guy right here, I'm telling you, the real technician.
What I want to know is when you came up, when you were back here after the first round of comparisons at the night show, and you found out that that Nick beat you and it was a tie, and you were going to have to go out there. What did you do mindset to say to yourself, "I'm going to win this show"? Because that had to take a little air out of your sails.
It's all about being resilient. I got to be honest, man. I mean, I wasn't happy that we were going to go back out there. It was a tie. I wanted to come into the show, and I wanted it to be a slam dunk. But I knew it wasn't going to be a walk in the park when I said I wanted to do the show. So I never for a second, even when you interviewed me the other day, did I ever think that this was going to be a shoe-in, that I was going to win. I knew it was going to be a fight. Nick, Martin, Bonac, all them guys. But at finals, after finals, I had hoped that it was clear-cut, I won, and that was it. When they said it was a tie, we're going back out there, I literally just had to think to myself, like, we did not come this far to just, another round of posing. Oh, okay, let's freaking go. Let's go, okay.
You look like you drank about 40 cups of coffee when you were out there.
Well, I was locked in more than I'd ever been locked in. You can ask Chris. He could see it in my eyes.
It's, Derek is a champion. Physically, he's a champion mentally, and I think it was good that he was pushed to the limit, because you can only improve your mental game when you're challenged. It's easy.
He had the toughest mental game of anyone I know, Phil Heath.
You have to stay competitive, and that's what Derek did. At the end of the day, this is competition. This is a bodybuilding competition. So when you do get pushed, you get pressed, you have to find it within yourself. This is what it's all about. You can't
high out a lot in the last hours of a lot of Olympians.
And it was because of what I did mentally and realizing that he's going to show up. He actually signed the damn poster saying he was winning. But I had to realize that he's going to do him, and I got to do me. And that's what Derek did. That's what Nick did. That's what all these guys did. But the person that won, he won. And at the same time, you're going to learn things through wins and losses, but you learned a lot through this victory, as we were sharing earlier. My thing is, you won the show, now you get to shut it down, you get to reevaluate everything, and you get to take what you learned. Look, guys.
What should you do now?
Look,
going into
I'm going to
for the
just call it what it is. He's working with a new coach.
Yeah.
It's not easy. People have to take that into accountability. Things are different. We are wired as athletes a certain way. Our biorhythms are different. You look at any other sport, that'd be like a quarterback. He's winning all these Super Bowls and stuff, and he gets a new coach. They may not vibe right initially in preseason, and then they do a couple, week by week 3. Now they're figuring it out.
These guys seem to have figured it out pretty well.
Well, talk about how to learn moving forward. How about we learn from the people that came before us? I learned from this guy right here, watching him go through all his battles, trials, triumphs, all that. Jay before him, Ronnie before him. So I would always watch these guys and pay attention to more than just their physique. Who are they? I want to get to know who these guys are the best that I can. And thank God you put out a lot of social media content. But I would always, try to see how they carried themselves through through the thick and thin, the highs, the lows, everything. And I've seen him go through a lot of things. He has 7 Olympia titles, one of the greatest of all time, one of the greatest physiques of all time. But he also had his challenges too, all along the way. And I saw how he dealt with it like a true champion. And I'm like, listen, that's the kind of person I want to be. So hopefully I can do the same thing for more people. But it's not just me, it's not just him. There's a lot of great people in this sport, in this industry, but also in other endeavors that we can look at and go, okay, they're champion-esque. I want to be like that.
Chris, he's got an Olympia coming up in October. Obviously, his body needs rest. What do you do now with this guy?
I'm going to follow him from here, to the show, and with keeping in mind that he needs to improve still.
What would you like to see him improve?
I would like to see better condition in the pecs. I'd like to see bigger pecs, which they've improved. I'd like to see more fullness.
To come train at my gym with me for those bigger pecs. If I want to get bigger pecs, I need him to come to my gym in Tampa.
By the way, your ab pose was very good today.
It was good. No, it was really good, and there have been improvements. We got to give props for that. You know, you actually did hit a crab finally. I'm like, Jesus.
Yeah, what? Yeah, what's
like,
with
Jesus,
it?
like
Him
Jesus
and I were
Christ,
saying,
like,
why is this guy
it's
hitting
like,
crab? Yeah.
you know, every Mr. Olympia has to be able to hit a crab.
Yeah.
Why are you not doing it? You do it.
Let's
Okay,
practice.
cool.
Hold on. Let's
You
hit
know,
a crab.
You know, you hit a crab.
If he said this at the Olympia, if he said this at the Olympia last year, I probably kept bawling my eyes out. But this is a
Do your crab shot. Do your crab shot while we got Phil here.
There it is. See? And then, you know what's funny is like, we get to see this shit after fact, right? But that's the cool part about the sport is that you get to learn. And Derek, being the humble champion that he is, he's actually paying homage to the previous guys that came before him, learning, analyzing, asking questions. He travels just as much as we do. So we see each other in passing. He's always he already knows, like, he can hit my line. All these guys can hit my line. Because I just want the sport to continually grow, and I want guys to be at their best, because they're putting their, when you talk about bodybuilding, man, like, you're putting your body through so much stress that other sports don't, right? So you need to get the most bang for your buck in this sport. You need to know that, like, hey, there is a time where I'm going to win. There may be a time that I lose, but what a better story. You know, your story is going to be remembered because of the fact that you had peaks and valleys. You had different coaches. You had different sponsors. Those are things that tell a great story. And being 5 years removed from the sport, I can tell you, on this side, you remember those moments. You get to speak about those moments. You get to help other people with those moments, because you realize ultimately we are not alone. So you're never alone. You always got people that support you. And look, some of the same people will support Nick, but because we just want everybody to.
When you get to this level, though, it seems to be more of a mental game, and I think that's what you were really good at. The mental.
The mental game. I mean, I knew who I was dealing with. You know, like I knew the type of personality, and I also play different sports, so I understood, like, this is not boxing. Like, I understand.
But that's where they're at. Their physiques are peaked at this point. It's a mental game.
You know, Derek's still young, so, like, he has the opportunity to still grow. Like, he's working with a new coach, so they're going to try things different. They're going to play around with things. And the cool thing is that they were able to, when I say play around, they're able to change things up, but they're still winning. So you almost have to think as a champion that, like, for me, when you're able to win and you can say, I wasn't really at my all-time best, that's good.
Yeah,
like,
that's great.
That's how it works. Like, Ronnie won at 90%. Jay won at 90%.
You had a couple of years.
Fuck that. I whooped their ass. But seriously, I just knew how to make it happen on a 2-day show. But for a 1-day show format, I don't think we've seen a Mr. Olympia champion recover, then do a 2-day show at the Arnold, win that, and then do a 1-day show. The body is different. So when people will say online, I saw him
for prejudging, you think?
Well, your body is static. It's not dynamic. You know, like actually, it's more dynamic than static. It's not like a straight line. It's more dynamic. Excuse me, I haven't had anything to drink. I need food.
Well, you get all dehydrated for this interview?
You know, probably, but overall, I'm just trying to tell you, man, you did great.
Thank you.
You're loved. You're appreciated. You get to roll in. You got your beautiful wife over there. You're going to be able to, you know, you got some extra pocket money, you know.
And you know that the champ is always they love the underdog. So even if you hear the audience rooting for Nick Walker, because you're the guy in the driver's seat right now, and he knows they booed for you for years, you know.
I mean, look, like, they sell tickets.
Yeah.
I show up, I do my job, I collect the check, and then I bounce. But that's bodybuilding. You cannot walk out there assuming that everyone's going to love you. You can assume that they're going to respect you because of what you put out there. And people know. I used to boo Phil Heath, and then post-career, they're like, I'm a huge freaking fan, because they know what you brought. They know your energy. They know your passion.
It was like with Ronnie and Jay. I mean, people wanted Ronnie to lose so bad, right? And Jay fans were crazy in the audience.
Well, I think you summed it up. People love the underdog. You know, when Phil came on, people love Phil, and then once he's, you know,
winning too many times,
wins too many times, everyone wants to see him fail.
It's the way it is, you know, but it's a good place to be. You're a champion. You proved it again tonight. You went under a very formidable force with Nick Walker. I know he's going to want to get some get back. You guys going to run that back? I cannot wait to get to Vegas, man. I cannot wait to get to Vegas.
Question for the champ here. Everybody's talking about Phil Heath coming back. After seeing hold up. After seeing all them rounds, you want to come back and do them rounds like that?
That would be easy.
That's the easy part.
No, I mean, serious. Like, if my mind was there, because I know what I sign up for. I know how Steve is. he was doing that stuff to me back in the '08 Ironman. Because when you make it easy, the level of difficulty has to increase. No different than the level of difficulty in a video game.
He wanted to see who had the balls to stand up.
He really didn't answer that question.
I mean, if I want to do a Master Olympia, they would have to make that prize money crazy. Crazy. That's insane. You know, but you know,
the money is really good now,
the money's good all around, and I'm glad that these guys were able to make some life-changing money with it, you know, and I'm glad that they were able to.
This guy just earned $600,000 in the last 2 shows.
Dude, it's insane, man. Like,
that's
it's
more
it's
than
great.
you made in 2 years.
Yeah.
Oh, you made 400 toward the end.
You know,
He's like, let me count real quick. He goes, let me count real quick.
Hey. The good part is that for me, I'm on the other side. I get to watch, I get to critique, I get to commentate, I get to do all this other stuff. I get to be a big bro or mentor, friend, and I'm in a great spot. Like, for me to actually want to put on tanning and posing trunks again, that's not ever gonna happen.
I wasn't kidding.
You don't have
to train with me though, because I think that'd be sick.
Oh man,
it'd be great for me, but I think the fans would love it too.
Bro, like if I was
throwing it out there, you gonna go visit? You gonna go train with him?
If I'm doing that, there ain't no cameras. Like, that's how we roll. Like, you know what I mean? Like, that's how we roll.
We're just there to get better.
All right, Phil Heath might be going out to Derek's new gym, do a few training sessions. Chris, Martin Fitzwater finishes 3rd, Bonac 4th. I could have flipped it either way.
Yeah, I had Bonac in the pre-judge and Fitzwater at night. So that's how you know they judge. You know, they change things around.
Right.
Williams.
He still got it.
He still got it.
Nothing to hang his hat on.
Yeah.
Like, William is holding off a lot of good bodybuilders, really good bodybuilders. The resilience of that guy.
How old is he now?
What, 42? 42?
He still looks great, man.
You know, I retired at 40. I mean, that's my last show at 40. So, you know, God bless him, man. I mean, he's still out there. He's putting on a show. He's still able to his mobility with that type of mass
crazy
during his routine, and he loves it. And that's what's really good, you know.
Aaron Banks wins men's physique. Congratulations. And Rough Diesel pulls out a very close victory. I wasn't so convinced of that victory. What did you think about that?
You know, it was one point like this, and it's 2 different physiques. I've always loved his physique. He knows how to present what he's got more than anyone in the IFBB. He was up against somebody who's young with fresh muscle.
Jose Manuel.
Peeled out of his mind. When I saw the guy, I said, you know, sometimes you forget what really peeled is. And
he was harder than the guys in the open.
Yes, he was. And I put it in my head to think, like, that is the goal for people who I know.
That's dangerous stuff right there. Like, especially when he turned to the side, like he would turn around and he would show, like, I'm a glutes, hamstrings, core type of dude. Like, I love to see that because we know that is a killer shot. His back double, oh man, thick,
nasty.
Detailed. It was nasty. But, you know, Rough Diesel, man, he came out with the victory, man. And that's, again,
I hope there's a rematch next week in New York.
Hey, it's 1 point. So it may go the other way.
What can happen in a week?
Well, I had a great time. I want to thank Jim Mannion, Tyler Mannion, J.M. Mannion, all the Mannions for putting on a phenomenal first year Pittsburgh Pro with the Expo. This is going to be a yearly thing now, and I'm looking forward to coming back every year. Thank you for inviting us, rolling out the red carpet, VIP treatment. Thank you, Phil, for joining us on all the wrap-ups. And, of course, Chris, my brother from another mother, and Sid behind the camera. We had a great group of guys here. RxMuscle killed it this weekend. And we'll be back again next week with Chris and Sid in New York. Nick Walker, will he win? Will he beat Regan Grimes? We won't know till next week. For now, I'm Dave Palumbo with Phil Heath and Chris Aceto. We'll see you next time.